I'm Fletcher Brown, another artist video blog here at KIX96country.com. Our guest today, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, by way of Montana. Please welcome Jessta James to KIX Country. Jessta, how are you?
Howdy. Doing good.
Now, your backstory is one of like ranches and rodeos and things like that. You say your dad was a real big classic country fan.
Yeah.
But you yourself didn't start singing, playing, and performing until you were in your 20s.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't really. I mean, I've always been a fan of music, my whole entire life, and I grew up on the outlaw country music and classic country, and of course, being influenced by my dad. And in high school, I got really into classic rock, and it wasn't until after high school that I got into hip hop a little bit, and eventually wrote my first song and made an impression.
Absolutely. Now, you didn't start out obviously as a musician. You worked construction and whatnot, and decided what happened. What made you say that it's like, this life isn't for me. This life is for me. On the road with a guitar, with a band, and making music. What happened that made you say, this is the life I need?
Well, it was really pretty much an instant thing. I wrote my first song, and I was driving back from the studio with she was my girlfriend then. It's now my wife. And I was playing her what we just recorded, and she was like, "You need to do this. This is something you need to do." Mm-hmm. And so I actually performed that song the next night, and people loved it. So I was addicted.
Absolutely. So you lived the double life. You're working construction by day, you're playing by night. You decided, I'm just going to chuck everything else and become a musician. You headed out to California.
Yep.
You had to go all the way to the West Coast to decide that. That wasn't the place really for you, because you weren't exactly seeing everything that you want to see there. But it took you all the way to the West Coast to meet someone from Atlanta that would actually get you to where you wanted to be.
It's crazy how things happen, but you're absolutely right. I started recording professionally there, and it was a natural progression from Montana because it was on the West Coast, and I learned a lot. I met a lot of industry people, and really got some experience as far as professional recording and working with a band, and so it was for good reason, but yeah, that's where I met. I linked up with a producer out of Atlanta, and once I started working with him, that's when I really found my sound, and my unique sound, and the rest was history.
Absolutely. So then you start work on what ultimately will become your debut album, right? Which I have actually a copy of the double album. It's like Time to Get Right, is that right?
Yep. Time to Get Right.
Now the single, that's not the title track.
No.
The single is Back in the Day.
Back in the Day. And that song I wrote about what it was like growing up, back in the day for me, and the kind of stuff we did when I was a kid. And it's just got this real feel-good, nostalgic vibe to it that I think people are really relating to.
Mm-hmm. As a songwriter, now you've written every song on the track.
Every
right?
one, yeah. All
right. Now, as a songwriter, the title track has some very significant meaning to you. Time to Get Right.
Yeah.
Tell us the story behind that track.
Well, I enjoy writing. It's probably my favorite thing to do is write songs, and I put a lot of me in the music. A lot of my life experiences, and I feel like that's really what translates to my fans is that it's genuine. Mm-hmm. And but that song in particular I wrote for my brother Matthew, and he passed away at the end of 2006 from a drug addiction. So you can imagine that tore my family apart, and it had a lot to do with actually me just kind of giving up everything else and deciding to go for my dream in music, because after Matt passed away I realized how short life is or can be, and how precious of a thing. So I just decided to go for it, and that song basically is all the things that I wanted to tell Matt before he passed, and I never really got a chance to do that.
Let's talk about your musical style and the fact that you blend so many different genres. You country and rock, and even a little bit of hip hop, shows up in your music. You list as some of your influences folks like Eric Church, Big and Rich, and of course several rock acts. But why the hip hop element? Why do you think?
Well, like I said earlier, I didn't really get into the hip hop, even listening to it, until after high school, and I dove into it because it was different for me. It was something new, and I just had a respect for the artistry of it. And so when it came time to actually making music and developing my sound, I realized that I was heavily influenced by all three of those things. You know, it came natural to put that in there, you know, because it was all, each one of those represented a piece of me, the country, the rock, and the hip-hop, and I wanted to do it different, you know, than anybody else has really done it before.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like we're seeing more and more artists that are branching out and getting really kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, avant-garde, you know, with some of the newer the country styles. Yep. Even, you know, we got artists like Jason Aldean that have like dipped their toes into those ponds. Of course, we're seeing independent artists like Colt Ford, Cowboy Troy, and these guys coming up. And now Jessta James is brought to you right here at KIX96 Country.com. If you want to hear the single, of course, back in the day, you can hear it at KIX96. Be sure and call us, and we'll play it for you. If you can find Jessta online at JestaJames.com. Now, explain Jessta.
Well, Jessta, it's a nickname. You know, my birth given name is Jesse, but I've been called Jessta for years, and it's a play on the word jester, basically an entertainer. You know, ever since I was young, I was always entertaining people, you know, so it just kind of stuck.
All right, so JESSTA JAMES, JestaJames.com. What about the Twitter and the Facebook? You on those social media?
Yep, everything. You can find us everywhere, Twitter and Instagram and, you know, Vine. That's a new one. I don't know if you guys heard about Vine yet. It's kind of like...
no, I think that was going to have... We're going to have to look that one up.
Yeah, it's like a video Instagram, but we're all over the place.
Absolutely. Well, it's time to get right. Time to get right. Get
yes,
it?
Sir.
See how I did that? Yeah, how that worked? We call that a pun. Time to get right. Pick up your copy of that where you can, of course, on JestaJames.com. And Jessta, we appreciate having you.
All right, thanks for having me.
Look for a live performance of a couple of Jessta songs elsewhere on the site, and we'll see you next time on another artist video blog at KIX96Country.com.